An MP raises allegations about PKTT crime intelligence properties, questioning whether there was any misuse or irregular handling. This is a direct question, and it demands a clear answer. Listen closely to how General Mkhwanazi responds here.
About the crime intelligence property that the PKTT members stay in.
Yes.
Right? Since then, our National Commissioner has responded and said there's crime intelligence properties that have been purchased. It's all above board. But are PKTT members staying in some of these crime intelligence properties?
No, they're not.
They're not. Okay.
That response is very deliberate. He doesn't expand. He doesn't speculate. He shuts it down quickly. Now that can mean two things. Either he's completely confident the allegation has no basis, or he understands that giving more detail could open up unnecessary lines of questioning. What's clear is this. He's choosing control over explanation. And in hearings like this, that's usually intentional. The discussion then shifts to unrest-related claims, particularly those raised by Fidel Adams. But instead of answering directly, something changes in Mkhwanazi's approach. Watch this.
Honorable members, can I beg with the chairperson to please allow you this minute that I'm going to take from you, because I feel this one must talk about when Honorable Adams is here. The issue of that unrest that involves my child. Honorable Chair, if you will add that minute to Honorable Member, because I'm taking this time from you.
Nice to be you, Lieutenant General, because you can even put a minute.
Honorable members.
We get shut down very quickly.
Honorable Adams is here and is listening to this. What pains me is to see a leader of society and coming here and talk bad about what happened in July. And I was there on the ground. I faced the fire. That X5 I talked about earlier that I bought in Pretoria. I drove that car alone in the car because I was isolating, because General Mkhwanazi had died and people that were General Mkhwanazi were with us in the operation. So I had to isolate. In that isolation, I had to go and see the operations. I got into my own car. I drove through Phoenix with my handgun, hoping that someone would attack me and I was going to fight with that handgun. If I die, I die. Because I wanted to see these attacks and these murders that were happening in Phoenix with my own eyes, with no escort. I drove that night. That's a sacrifice that I made. The riot starts and the riot ends, Mr. Adams. The ministers, they come down to KZN after the riots. After the riots, they visit KZN. Why do they visit? It's because their boss, which is the President of the Republic, is coming to visit the following day to assess the damage. So when ministers arrive late at the airport and they drive and they see what is happening around and we brief them, the following day, the president lands. I'm the one doing the briefing. The following day, the president lands. That time, we're busy with the mop-up operation. We are cleaning now. The dust is settled. We are cleaning. The president arrives. I'm the one that takes the president around all these sites in KZN. In Durban. Me, this one. The president is satisfied and he hears the plan of how we're going to deal with this and investigation and so forth. He gets on the aeroplane. He flies out. 2 days later, we are busy with cleanup investigation. There's no riot at all. I then get into the car. I drive with that X5 to Pretoria. And I arrive in Pretoria. The following day, my wife gives birth, cesarean section. And she stays in a hospital, Mr. Adams, and she gets out the following day with the stitches in the stomach. I put her in that X5, Mr. Adams. I drive with her and that toddler, 1-year-old, for 1,000 kilometers, Mr. Adams. And I leave her with a family. I go to the airplane, I fly back to Durban. I'm not there with a child. I left them like, that's a sacrifice that I don't think anyone will ever make. That's what I contributed in this July unrest. To come here and make it look like I neglected the duty, I prioritized the child over the safety of the citizens. You were not there, sir. I was here. So it is that I want to address because it's a very sensitive thing to me, personally. So if I can do that and someone who's a leader of society doesn't appreciate, I take an offense on it. The facts are there. Timelines of the violence are there. We are not in a business of thumb-sucking dates. We must say the routes happened on this date, ended on this day. This day what happened, and that day what happened, and that day what happened. So when I go, it's because there's no more violence. So for him to say, I neglect the job, it's the same with the former Speaker of this Parliament, who herself said that. She was sitting, Mr. Adams, she's the one who was sitting at Oyster Box, claiming to be running operation, a mop-up operation, sitting at Oyster Box. That's the Minister of Defense who was sitting there. So when I present these things, it sounded as if I'm arrogant before the Human Rights Commission, but I was giving the facts. I was telling the minister that the soldiers don't have equipment to do the work. You're calling them to come to Cape Town. I don't know what they're using to work in Cape Town because they don't have tents to sleep on. Thank you, Chair.
That's a subtle shift, but an important one. He doesn't answer immediately. He asks for clarification. Now that's not avoidance. That's positioning. Because if the question is not clearly defined, any answer can be misinterpreted or used out of context. So what he's doing here is narrowing the scope before committing to a response. It's controlled, and it slows the pace of the questioning. The committee then moves to a more difficult area. Not what was said, but what was not done. Why certain issues were not raised or escalated. Listen to this exchange.
So why didn't you meet at the Oyster Box? Because they have meeting rooms there. Why did you decide to go to the
The plan was to control the space where we're going to meet this guy so that you can be able to dominate what's happening there. You can't go to Oyster Box and sweep.
You mean you?
I beg your pardon?
Who's we? You mean you?
Me and General Mkhwanazi.
Oh, okay.
So we plan it together to say, find a space, a place that no one else can come in, so that you can be able to do what we can do.
You're a bit nervous or unsure about what could happen.
We already knew who's Kat. So I'm meeting Kat already knowing who is this person you are meeting. So you can then therefore not risk not to keep records of this meeting because it must build an investigation.
And did you actually record the meeting or you just said it was just sort of because you haven't given us the recording?
Yeah, well, I have not given you a recording, and I'm glad that the meeting, I've explained and I've disclosed the meeting or what was the content of the meeting, and I did not want to take whatever that we did there with intelligence and give it to Parliament. But for me, I was saying to him, I said to him that we dominated the space, so whatever activities that took place in that place, it's not claiming to be drinking. Once a criminal investigation unfolds, there will be evidence on it.
So besides what you told us today about what happened in the meeting and what you had written in the SMS or the message that you sent, there was other stuff that happened that you can't tell us?
No, there's no other stuff. We came in there, we sat and we spoke. It was only about...
And you spoke about what it is you reported to us today. There wasn't anything else.
Well, everything that we spoke about is what I wrote in that message.
So why wouldn't you give us the recording as well?
No, well, remember, I said some of the things when we do from the intelligence point of view might not necessarily be admissible in any investigation. So the how part and all that is with General Mkhwanazi. So I don't want to, because it is them that had to prepare the room, intelligence to prepare that room for us to meet.
This is where the real pressure usually shows. Because explaining an action is harder than explaining action. But again, look at how he handles it. He doesn't rush the answer. He stays within structure, process, procedure, sequence. That suggests he's relying on institutional logic rather than personal defense. And that's a strategy. Because once you shift to process, the focus moves away from individual judgment and towards systems. Looking at all three moments together, a pattern becomes clear. This isn't random. It's consistent behavior. Quick denial when the allegation is direct. Slowing down the process when the question is broad. Leaning on procedure when accountability is tested. That's not reaction. That's strategy. And it tells you that General Mkhwanazi is not just answering questions. He's managing how those answers are framed. The real test will come later, when these responses are placed next to other testimonies and evidence, because that's when controlled answers are either reinforced or challenged.